Hey Hoopballers, are you into sports betting? Do you want to know why a certain game has a funky line? Well, Hoopball has you covered. Today in Sports Betting is a great addition to all your handicapping questions with hosts Ira Silver and Devin Ellington. We break down game lines and future bets on all sports and try to make some money along the way. Follow us on Twitter at Hoopball Gaming, at Ira Silver Magic, and at DALE007. And download Today in Sports Betting in the App Store, Google Play, and available on Spotify.
The following is a Hoop Ball presentation.
Hello, and welcome to the Hoop Ball DFS Today podcast. I am your host, Mike Apatra, joined by none other than Brenton Eckersley, my good boy from the Down Under. I'm butchering. I shouldn't even be saying that, Brenton. It's terrible. You probably get that from the Americans all the time. But
we're used to it. That's fun.
Nonetheless, man, I'm glad that you're here with me. I'm really pumped up. We got an awesome slate to talk about. But more importantly, man, we had some NBA action. So I know we're recording this the night before right now. So it's about 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursday. I'm sorry, but it's Friday over where Brenton is. So I know it's early in the morning when the games are playing. Did you have a chance to catch any of the first ones?
No, I didn't, to be honest, not yet. But yeah, I'm certainly going back to have a look.
Absolutely. I mean, the first game did not disappoint. Pelicans Jazz, close game. Kudos Santino. Me and him broke down that game pretty well. It looked like we had a lot of the plays that we were into. Favors, a little bit of foul trouble early on, hurt him. Alonzo Ball got into foul trouble as well. But nonetheless, it's looking like it's a pretty decent night, and it's about second quarter right now to this Laker-Clipper game. So we got some more action to wait on. But I'm not gonna lie, man. I like the 2-game slates. They're fun and all, but this is gonna be a great slate to talk about. We have 6 games to break down. Some teams that are actually playing for stuff, some teams that aren't, but value all over the place nonetheless. So I think we should just jump right into this, man. But before we do, just a quick shout out to one of our presenting sponsors, Manscaped. You guys heard us talk about it several times, whether it's the Lawnmower 3.0, whether it's the premium package kit that you get 20% off and free shipping off either or, just using promo code HoopBall today. That's HOOPBALL20, and you get that 20% off and free shipping. So try them out. You're going to hear this podcast a lot if you listen, and you're going to hear me talk about it a lot. It's because it's worth it. It's great stuff, man. And I don't know, man. Brenton, have you experimented at all with the Lawnmower 3.0? Have you tried any of the Manscaped products yet?
I haven't had a chance yet. No, have you?
I was fortunate enough, I guess you could say, being the one that gets to shout them out all the time. They gave me a little trial pack, and I always prefer that because I don't really like to tout products that I don't genuinely enjoy. So, and I got it, I tried it, and Hoop Ball with the sponsors, 2 for 2. Hawaiian Isles Kona Coffee, Manscaped, and actually, I guess we could say 3 for 3. We'll get to my bookie in a little bit, but we bring in good sponsors, man. They have good products, and I have no problem touting them, backing them, and supporting them. Great stuff. But let's jump right into this, brother. We have to get this out here early because these games tip off at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have the Orlando Magic taking on the Brooklyn Nets. This game's coming in right now at about a 212 over/under, with the Orlando Magic giving about 7 points right now. So obviously, if you've listened to our earlier shows where we broke down a lot of these teams, you already know we spent a good amount of time on the Nets. And it's simply because they are out or without absolutely everyone. So we'll go through it again real quick. Just a refresher, maybe you didn't catch those. But Taurean Prince, Spencer Dinwiddie, DeAndre Jordan, Wilson Chandler, Michael Beasley, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, all of them are out. So as you can imagine, with all those big names out, they're running out pretty much a G League squad that's going to be anchored down by probably 2 primary forces. And then as far as the Magic goes, Aaron Gordon is actually dealing with a little bit of an injury, injured his groin. He participated in Wednesday's practice, but nonetheless, first game back, wouldn't expect some sort of limitations. And then Jonathan Isaac, he believes he's going to play Friday. Steve Clifford said he expects him to play. But again, another guy that I'm probably not anticipating with a lot of minutes. But that's the injury landscape. That's the game total. That's the spread, man. So why don't you tell me, we'll start off with, I guess, this Orlando Magic team. Is there anybody that's kind of popping off the page for you?
Oh, yeah, sure. So, look, I kind of expect this game to stay somewhat close. I don't think there's much blowout potential here. So we should get good runs, good minutes of the starters. Vucevic is one that jumps off the page here for me. He's priced at 8,500 on DK, and that's probably right around value in this matchup, I would have thought. I probably see him as a cash play here, though, Mike, more than GPP. I just don't think he has the ceiling. However, this is a pace-up matchup for the Magic against the Nets, so there's potentially a little bit more scoring coming their way. And you mentioned Isaac and Gordon. I think regardless of who's playing that 4 spot for Orlando here, Vooch is going to have, he's still going to be a high focus for the Magic's offense. And, he's a nightly double threat, or a nightly double threat, if you like. I think there's good value here, probably cash for me. The other one that I'm really having a good hard look at for Orlando is Terrence Ross. So priced at 5,700 on DK, value's only around about 28 points, fantasy points. So look, I think he's going to have a great matchup here against the Nets, running the second unit for the Magic. He's played pretty well in the Magic scrimmages so far. He was on fire for the Magic before the season hiatus, averaging in the 20s in points, four odd rebounds, couple of assists and a steal in 30 minutes in the run-in. So he's a good GPP play for me. He's obviously got the ability to light teams up in bursts, and that's definitely on the cards here against the Nets. You mentioned, John Isaac. The questionable tag is a worry, and I think you're right. He's probably going to be on minutes limits, so I'm probably not looking at him here. Who do you have?
To be honest, man, I'm not really on anybody in this game. I think it's a fantastic matchup for the Magic. And this is a very impactful game. We're talking about two teams that are right next to each other in the seeding, so it's going to be extremely impactful for both of them. But there was little rumblings of Steve Clifford coming out and kind of saying that he's not expecting any of his starters to play anywhere near 34 or 36 minutes. That's a very vague number. So if they play 32, still some room for value in there. Don't get me wrong. This matchup's fantastic. You touched on Vucevic. He's probably the number one play. The price tag reflects that, but Brooklyn's been getting crushed by centers all season long. It's actually been about 2 years now where you can just pretty much count any center going against them to have a great game. And, Vucevic is their guy. So I don't mind him, but at that $8,500 price tag, it takes a lot of the juice out of the orange for me a little bit. So I think there's a few other centers I'm gravitating towards a little bit more. Aaron Gordon dealing with a groin injury, already coming out with Clifford saying that he's going to limit starters. I'm not really trusting it, and I liked him a lot better with Isaac out. More rebounds were available for him. We kind of saw that kind of impact his fantasy game. And then same thing with Isaac. He's coming off the injury. He was questionable to play up until a few days ago, or maybe even a day ago, and now all of a sudden he's going to play. I wouldn't expect a boatload of minutes for him. So I'm probably going to take a hard pass on a lot of these Orlando guys just because we have, about 11 other teams where I think I could find a couple other pieces from.
Yeah, sure. And there's some great value on the board across the other matchups, like you said.
Absolutely, and I think we're gonna get to that right now for some of that value, and we'll talk about the Brooklyn Nets. We touched on those injuries. It was also recent news that it's a more than likely decent chance that Jamal Crawford isn't going to play. That being said, it only opens up a little bit more backcourt minutes for a few other guys that we'll get to. But before I just jump into that, let me hear it. Is there anybody I know I could imagine one or two guys on this team that you have to have a little interest in?
Oh, yeah. The two guys are fairly obvious, but we have to talk about them. It's Karis LeVert and Jarrett Allen. Levert's going to be leading this offense from the get-go. He's going to be soaking up a whole lot of usage. He's going to be shooting the ball. He's going to be, high in the production stakes on this team because they just don't really have anyone else around him at the moment. So, look, at 7,800 DK, the problem here is ownership for me. It's good value. 39 fantasy points. Yeah, he's probably going to get there and further, but the ownership here, Mike's going to be so high, I'm probably going to fade off of him.
I don't blame you. I mean, I think he's a fan. I still think he's too cheap. Let's just keep that, right there. 7,800. He's probably a guy that should probably be closer to what we're seeing Vucevic at, that 83 to 8,500 range. So I think we're getting a discount. The usage, it's going to be out of the world. There's no sample size that you can look up right now that's going to give you a relevant number. It's just going to be massive. I wouldn't be surprised if he's right around that 34, 35 usage rate. We kind of saw it in a couple of these scrimmages. He was just chucking and chucking and chucking. So I don't know if I could just completely fade. I think, cash games, it's going to be hard to fade just because he's going to be a fantastic play. GPPs, obviously he warrants a fade in there. If I'm playing a 20 entry max, I'm going to have a good amount of shares of Caris LeVert. But you best believe I'm going to hedge my bet and have somebody else on this team rather than him as well. You touched on Jared Allen. I don't think you can play both these guys together. I think both these guys are going to be fantastic plays. We know Jared Allen's a point per minute guy. He just never gets the minutes. Well, now they have nobody else left. They need him, and we got to factor in the Magic play with some size as well. So, you touched on both those guys. I think both of them are absolute excellent plays, but that's a great point. It makes complete sense to at least consider the fade on Caris LeVert if you're playing in a GPP. Really separate yourself, because I wouldn't be shocked if he's got somewhere between 35-45% ownership tomorrow. It's going to be massive.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Jarrett's probably the better play there for GPPs especially. The salary's obviously way lower. Like you said, he hasn't had the minutes there with DeAndre Jordan playing. Well, there's no one else there to play those minutes now, though. So, look, it's a tough matchup against Vooch, but I think, 5,800 on DK is just way too low.
Yeah, and I mean, he's not somebody that's going to sit there and try to work for a shot anyway. If he scores, it's putbacks, it's easy post feeds, it's running the floor, transition dunks, it's those sort of plays. And Vucevic, while he's good, he's a solid defender. He's not necessarily the speediest guy. I think Jared Allen could probably outrun him in a foot race if they're in transition. So he should be able to take advantage of that. But another guy I kind of had my eye on, and Santino's kind of been hitting this drum and banging the drum for a little while now during this layoff, and it's Chris Chiozza. He's going to be the starting point guard. He's only been playing limited minutes during these scrimmages, around 23 compared to, I think in the last scrimmage, compared to a guy like Jared Allen and LeVert, both play 29, and I think Joe Harris was up there at 28. But I think we could expect at least 25 to 28 minutes, possibility of a little bit more. 3,900 is a fair price. He's not necessarily going to assert himself into this offense and take a bunch of shots. That's not necessarily his game. But he has the ability to rack it up in multiple different ways, between rebounds, assists, steals. He's very good defensively. So I think, I think if I'm not playing LeVert, I might be gravitating towards a guy like Chris Chiozza. Get a massive discount, get some decent value. And I think, if this game were to get out of hand, he's still a guy that's going to play. We don't have to worry about anything like that. I think there's just more room for upside in this price tag for him. So another guy I think benefits from the Crawford, along with everybody else sitting. There's really only a couple other guards I can play behind him. Tyler Johnson, Garrett Temple. Temple's going to be working his way between the two as well. So I think he's going to get a decent amount of minutes, and I think we have to at least consider him for some GPP value.
Yeah, absolutely. Great call. He's definitely going to get his opportunities on this Nets team. So, yeah, you have to have some of him in your lineups and, see what happens.
Yeah, I don't think I'd play him and LeVert in the same lineup. But, getting exposure, I think, between Allen and one of those guys and a few of my lineups is a way that I'm definitely going to probably start a couple of my builds. I just think that they're just too cheap still. But, I don't know if you have anything else from that one, but we could just keep it moving.
Just one more to throw at you, just as a bit of a value play, is Rodions Kurucs. So he looks too low at the salary there at 4,200 as well. He's going to get a few shots on this team behind Caris and the other guys. And he's probably just more of a cash play, but someone to think about if you need a bit of value.
That's a good call. Yep, and you should see a fair amount of minutes. So They really don't have anybody else. I mean, this is where we get haunted by guys like Lance Thomas. You know, coming back from the grave right now, just doing his old Knicks thing where he just takes the minutes from the good guys, runs around, hustles, and finishes with no fantasy points. But
Yep.
let's hope that doesn't happen. But we'll keep going now. We have Memphis versus Portland. This is a game I'm really excited about. I think this is going to be loaded with some fantasy goodness. 224.5 over under. Portland being favored by 2 points right now. So, but we know this. We know this game's important for the Grizzlies. Grizzlies need to maintain their seeding. They want to hold on to it. They know they have a couple teams biting at their ankles right now, nipping. But this Memphis Grizzlies team, what are you looking at? What are you expecting, I guess, from a couple of these guys? And is there anybody that kind of stands out for some value?
Yeah, for sure. So pretty high pace here for this game with the Grizzlies ranked 7th, the Blazers 11th. So we should get some decent fantasy production out of it. As you said, Memphis want to hang in where they are, but right now, so, you know, they're going to be going all in. Look, I'm probably back the other way a little bit from you. I'm not finding a whole lot that I really want to look at here, Mike, but, you know, that's just the differing opinions that people, the way people look at slates, and that's cool. So I'd love to hear what you've got to go on it. The Nurkic is the one for me, obviously. You know, at 5,900 on DK, that's way too low for one of the premier centers in the league, even if he is returning from injury. He's been showing upside in the scrimmages and pretty much went berserk against the Raptors a couple of games back. Yeah, I'm going to be looking at Nurkic hard, but you know, really, other than maybe Jaren Jackson Jr., who I'll let you go on maybe, I was kind of tending to stay away from this one a little bit.
All right. Hey, and I don't fault you. I kind of have a bit of a different outlook. I'm just basically putting a lot of my eggs in the basket of that Memphis needs to win this game, and they're going to play their players that are going to help them win this game. It's a very winnable game. John Morant, 7K. I like that price tag. I would like it. I like that 68, 66, and it'd be a smash button play. But there's still plenty of upside for John Morant in this matchup, knowing that he's going to have to play big minutes. He looks like he's been in great shape, never missed a beat during this off season, but this little break that we've had. And he was playing fantastic when we talk about some of the games that he was having up until the time where the game's kind of stopped off. He was really starting to hit some stride and really starting to, and the most important part, play 30-plus minutes. So 3 games prior to the layoff, he played 30-plus minutes, all those with a high of 35. It's those games where he's getting 26, 28 that we have to worry about him actually hitting value. If he's going to play 30 to 32, 35 minutes, I'm all good with that price tag at 7K. And this being a very important game for him, I'm treating it as though it's a playoff game. And if that's the case, they're going to have to play their star point guard. And it helps. I didn't mention this right off the top. I probably should have mentioned a few injuries. Tyus Jones, Justice Winslow, both of them are out of that game. Tyus Jones recently, I believe, sprained his ankle. Justice Winslow re-injured his back on that one. So both those guys out. Those are 2 primary ball handlers that they do have. We'll probably see D'Anthony Melton play a little bit of point guard instead of Tyus Jones backing him up. But that just gives, I think, John Morant more ample opportunity. If they want their best point guard, their best facilitator on the floor, they don't really have that go-to second option, Tyus Jones. Now it's basically Morant or the tweener guard, Melton. So I like Morant. You touched on Jaren Jackson Jr., huge Triple J guy here. Always love him. Price tags, I think, ridiculously low, 4,900. Plenty of juice left in the orange on that. The only worry we have with him is the minutes again. The situation is a little different. He hurt his knee a little bit prior to the layoff. He says he feels great. He says he's 100% now. That's exactly what he needed, which is time off. So at 4,900, I don't mind taking a few shots at him. I think we're going to be, have plenty of options for value in a similar range, but definitely a great play. And
yeah, for sure.
I think the only other guy I'm really looking at is Jonas on Memphis. I think Jonas is always in play for me. Just one of the best point per minute centers in the league. And knowing that they're going against a team right now where they have 2 big bodies now. So we're talking Whiteside and Nurkic. He's going to have to most likely play some minutes against these bodies. Talking about Zach Collins is going to be in that front court as well. I'm looking at probably, again, super important game. They're going to want some of their best players. If he stays out of foul trouble, he should be playing 28 to 32, 33 minutes. 7,800 leaves a little juice left. I probably prefer him over Vucevic point per dollar and for ownership reasons too. So that's a little bit of a contrarian play. I think a lot of people would immediately go to Vucevic just in that Nets matchup, which I can't blame you. It's a fantastic one. Give me a lower owned Valanciunas, a little bit cheaper, allows me to spend elsewhere, and I will take it.
Yeah, cool. Great call. Nice pivot. I like it.
Yeah, I think he's averaging about, or it's only one game, but he played 27 minutes against them early in the year and dropped 44 and a half. Give him a few extra minutes, we might be looking at a 50 burger, but that's it. That's all I really had from Memphis. Just those three guys. I don't think I'll be going to guys like Kyle Anderson. I mentioned Melton, 4,700. It's a little bit out of my price tag range. A few other guys I think we can go to for some better value, but you mentioned Nurkic. 5,900. I just don't know, man. I'm just worried about the minutes. I just don't see how they're just going to completely phase Whiteside out of the equation. I know they've touched on playing these two guys alongside of each other, but I can't see that being too successful for very long.
I don't see that either. No.
Yeah, just not enough spacing. These guys are both just kind of sit in the paint kind of guys, 10 feet and in pretty much. Nurkic maybe a little bit more range, but not much more. So I just don't think I can trust him. And when we just talk about it, Jared Allen being a very similar price tag in a way better spot, not worried about as much. I would probably rather go there. But, maybe if you want to use Nurkic as the GPP pivot play, that makes total sense because his ownership, I'm not expecting much to go towards it with Allen only being $100 less than him. Not even more, $100 less. But that's it, man. I'm not really going to be playing Lillard 9,300. It's a little rich for my blood.
Yeah.
Ja Morant, not the best defensive point guard. I think Lillard could easily take advantage of it, but I just think, there's a few other guys that we can go to around that price range, spend a little bit more and get a little bit more secured value. And McCollum, man, how are you with him? Because I don't get McCollum right half the time.
Yeah, no, I do. I do okay with CJ, 7,500 DK. I'm a little worried what happens with rotations, usage, where it all goes with Collins and Nurkic back in the lineup. I'm just not 100% sure on this Blazers team until I see a little bit more from them.
Yeah, the one guy that I could see myself maybe getting a share or two of, and it would be tournaments only, might be a guy like Carmelo Anthony at 5,400 with Trevor Ariza opting to sit out. So opens up a couple more minutes. They can get a little bit more versatile with him, play him at the 3 instead of just only playing him at the 4. And with that, shot attempts, when Melo gets hot, he gets hot. He's an upside kind of guy, but don't be surprised if the floor is a little bit lower than you were hoping. So yeah, GPPs only.
Sorry, Mike. That's real matchup dependent for me on Carmelo. He tends to monster the, lower defensively rated teams and kind of just ease back on other matchups. So yeah, that'll be matchup dependent for me.
All right, Ben. I think that's pretty good coverage of the Grizzlies in Portland. I don't really have much more to talk about them, but we still have a really exciting game that we're about to jump right into. So we'll do that. It's going to be the Phoenix Suns going against the Washington Wizards. And, exciting probably doesn't sound exciting when you hear the two teams, but when you say the game total of 227.5 or 224, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. 224, only a 7-point spread. Phoenix is being favored right now. Washington, another team that is sitting or missing a lot of their stars, but we'll start with the Washington Wizards right now. And we already know Bertans is out. Bradley Beal is out. John Wall's been out. There's a lot of value that's going to go around, my friend. Tell me who you're liking over here on this Washington Wizards team.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm looking a little bit lower down the page here, to be honest, and I'm going straight to Troy Brown Jr. 4,700 on DK. That seems way low to me. If he has to get through 23 or 24 DK fantasy points as a probable starter against the Suns, I think that's smash territory, and I'll take it all day. Thank you. With the other interesting thing here with Troy is with Beal and Bertans not playing, his usage spikes from 17.1% to 22.1%. And as a starter, that could get even higher. Minutes could go even higher. I think just a nice little GPP play here to save you some salary in that position. With the low salary, you get a great floor to build around him or build lineups with higher salary options. GPP, cash, I like him everywhere on this slate. He's my first go-to. What do you think about this play?
I love him. I think that's a great call. I think that there's two fantastic plays on this side of the ball, and I'll probably have one of them in every single one of my lineup. Troy Brown Jr. and Shabazz Napier. I can't see myself not having at least one of those guys in the lineup. This usage has to go somewhere. We've seen Napier in the games that Beal missed. He just completely absorbs it. And yes, he's $1,000 more, and it's tough to pick between these guys. We got to imagine that they're both going to see double-digit shot attempts. They're both going to have the ball in their hands most of this game. And I don't mind playing them all. I'm going to be mixing and matching. So, like I said, if I don't have Napier in a lineup, it's probably going to have Troy Brown. And I'll probably end up, mixing and matching with some other guys later on that we'll end up talking about and just doing a couple different combinations. But both these guys, I think, are absolute fantastic plays and just severely underpriced. I think in a few games we'll see Napier probably in that low sixes. Maybe even a little higher if he keeps getting the usage that I'm anticipating. And I wouldn't be surprised if your boy Troy Brown ends up getting somewhere in that mid-fives range, kind of where Napier is now.
Yeah, for sure. Just on the flip side of that, what about the whole Ish Smith side of this story? What do you think is achievable there?
So Ish Smith, I think there's a lot that's achievable. We know that he's going to be an integral part of probably this team still in this offense. As the backup, though. I'm not expecting 30-plus minutes. I think, Napier being there now, he is going to be their point guard, and I don't think that they're very concerned about knowing what Ish Smith is going to provide for the future. But I think with Troy Brown, Napier, those two guys still have ample opportunity to be on this team going forward, and they're going to want to see what they have. Troy Brown, one of their top picks not too long ago, they're going to be expecting some pretty big things from. So I have some genuine interest in both of them. And I'm not really looking at anybody else on this team either. I think Rui's a little overpriced at 7,400. Great spot, perfect. Great everything. I just don't want to pay that price tag. There's plenty of other guys. Thomas Bryant, great price tag, great matchup. I get all of that, but conditioning has been a serious problem with him and a serious issue. So I'm just not expecting him to get ample run or any kind of run maybe over 24, 25 minutes. I think that's probably the high case scenario. Is there anybody else kind of standing out for you on Washington?
Not really, mate. But that point on Rui, I've got him crossed out in red here as a fade. Personally, I think he's my CJ. I can't get him right. When I play him, he's terrible. When I don't, he beats me. And my underlined question here was, do you think Rui Hachimura is actually in play at that salary? And you've already answered that. I think the answer is no.
Yeah, I don't think. But the thing is you look at some pricing discrepancy. He's underpriced over there on FanDuel. Do your kind of your research on both sites. If you're a both site player, and just because you cross somebody out in one spot doesn't mean he's crossed out in the other. He's not a play in DK, but he's a great play in FanDuel. So, take that for what it's worth. I play most of my majority of my lineups on DK though. So, but hey, I think with these first few games, we got to take advantage of both sites, and if you could play both, play both.
Yeah, for sure. Look, obviously, I'm kind of slanting here towards DK as well, but if you get onto both, good. If you have the time to get onto both, good luck to you. I think.
I'm a degenerate over here, Brian. So I make time. So whether it's cutting out some sleep, maybe dinner, lunch, breakfast, I find the time to be a degenerate and get some lineups in. But Phoenix, man, this team dealing with some injuries throughout the year. Looks like Kelly Oubre Jr. is not going to play. It just says that they just don't really have an update. He hasn't even taken contact yet in practice. So that was one of the stories leading up to this, whether or not he was going to play, whether, it doesn't look like he's going to be there, which is unfortunate. But Aaron Baines, he's recently released from quarantine. He's able to go through his first practice with the Suns, but I wouldn't be shocked if he sits. If he does play, probably extremely limited minutes. So that's another little news factor. Then Dario Saric. He injured his ankle not too long ago. He's according to the reports, he's doing a little bit more in practice. But again, not another guy. This team, the Suns, they pretty much know that they're just here for show. They're not going to be able to do anything right now. I think they have like a 1.6% chance of making playoffs or something crazy low. So I'm not really paying too much mind into the guys that are actually hurt or actually dealing with injuries, because it's already been said that they plan on limiting Booker and Rubio slightly in at least the first game or two. So I'm a little scared off a lot of these Suns players. I think it's a fantastic spot. I think, we know that pretty much stacking against Washington is an easy way to make money with the pace that they play at, with how poor their defense is. I think it's a great spot. But we're paying a full price for Devin Booker at 8,800, and if I'm not getting a full complement of minutes, I feel more comfortable spending up on guys I could get those minutes from. Rubio, again, the limited minutes, I'm not touching them. I think the only two guys I have any interest on, and you tell me what you think, would be Cam Johnson. I think with all these injuries in the front court, we could see a little bit of him playing the floor. And if, I don't think he's the one guy that, knowing that he's young, they keep wanting to play him. They always play him minutes, almost like a Mikal Bridges, where I'm not worried about him having his minutes limited. He's not a high point per minute kind of guy, but a decent cash play. And if you need the value and you can't find anybody else you like, I think he's a solid option. And I can see myself maybe having a share of DeAndre Ayton. That's probably it for me, though.
Okay, yeah, for me, really, Ayton is the guy. It's a fairly high salary, and as you said, this team doesn't have much to play for. But I still expect him to, be around the mark and make you some decent value in this first matchup, especially against Thomas Bryant. I mean, I'll be looking for DeAndre to just blow through value really easily here. You're not paying a huge salary for a pretty high usage, points per minute center. But having said that, there are some other more valuable centers potentially in this slate. So slotting him in your center position, if you've only got one to play with, may not be the best play. He's in play. I'm not honing in on him 100% though.
And that's kind of where I'm at. I think he's a fantastic play. I'm not necessarily scared off by the price tag. I think 7,900. It's fair for him. That's probably where he should be priced.
Yeah.
It's just like you said it yourself. There's a lot of other options that we do have that we can easily, that we see, are underpriced, that are still in great spots, who we expect could easily do very similar things as DeAndre Ayton, but be $2,000 less. So that's basically what it comes down to. If you have the money, I don't mind spending it up on them. But that they're going to be limiting a few of these guys' minutes. It wouldn't shock me if Ayton ends up playing around the same level of minutes as a guy like Booker. Rubio, I expected to be limited a little bit more than both those guys, just because of his injury history and what he's been dealing with this season. But it's tough, man. It's a great spot, great matchup, great total. Everything's great surrounding it. It's just all this coach speak rumors that I hear. I gotta take everything into account, and I have to do a little bit of cost analysis compared to some of the other guys on the slate. So I'll have a share. I'm not gonna say I'm going out here and fading this entire game. I'll have some shares of DeAndre, and I'll probably have a share or two of Cam Johnson as well. But other than that, I can't see myself playing to anybody.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right, buddy. We have 3 games left, so we're about halfway through right now. But before we go any further, I just need everybody to say it with me real quick. Sports are back. And I've been waiting for this day since March, and now that it's here, I've only got one thing on my mind, and it's my bookie. My bookie is a home run, a slam dunk, triple overtime, game-winning shot, all wrapped up into one. I love it. You love it. And that should be all you need to hear in order to start betting today. MyBookie has up to the minute odds on all your favorite teams, and with the start of the NBA bubble just around the corner, which is now, there's never been a better time to start playing. With MyBookie, it's easy. You bet, you win money, and then they pay you. Feeling good about your MLB team's chances? Put a nice fat bet on them. Be sure to check MyBookie's World Series future bets. Nothing shows you believe in your squad more than betting on them before the season even takes a corner. We're only about a week and a half in. You can still make those. But why stop with baseball? Smarter bettors are always looking towards the future things. And in this case, that means like basketball, hockey, football is not too far around the corner. And MyBookie is already accepting bets on all of your favorite sports. So there's never been a better time to start playing and start exploring the world of online sports betting. Join today, and MyBookie will match your promo code. Listen to this, 100%. That is 100%. So you deposit 100, you get 100 extra dollars. And they'll even toss you a free $10 MLB future wager. All you got to do is use promo code HOOPBALL. That's HOOPBALL when you sign up, and you will get that 100% deposit match. Remember, MyBookie, the terms are simple. You bet, you win, and they pay you. All right, brother. We have another game on the docket to get to. And we're about halfway through, like I said, so we're going to round this out pretty soon. We have the Boston Celtics taking on the Milwaukee Bucks. Great game on paper. We've seen this matchup plenty of times, and we may end up seeing it in the future once this regular season rounds up. But just to lay the landscape for you real quick, we have a 218.5 over-under. Boston is being favored. Milwaukee's being favored by 5 points right now. But obviously, we have a little bit of news to talk about with the Boston Celtics. They have all their bodies there, but we know there's been a couple of reports that Kemba Walker will have his minutes limited. That alone kind of scares me off. And then we already know that this Milwaukee's team is just unreal on defense in general. And then as far as injuries go for Milwaukee, we know Eric Bledsoe will be sitting out. He was a late arrival to the bubble, hasn't really participated in much, so do not expect him to play. And then I believe Marvin Williams is not expected to play either. He's dealing with a groin injury. So I guess we could start with this with the Celtics team. We'll start with the Celtics. Anybody standing out to you? Anybody that you're kind of gravitating towards, knowing that this Milwaukee team is coming into Orlando with a stifling defense?
Can I just keep this short and say no? I'm not really targeting this game very much at all. Two are pretty good defensive teams, especially the Bucks. They're just amazing. The Bucks have top seeds sewn up. What are they playing for? What happens with rotations? There's too much confusion there for me on that side of things. If I had to pick someone at a decent salary, it's probably Giannis. But he looks okay, but and then you got value options like Jason Tatum and Chris Middleton. They probably offer better value with some upside, but honestly, Mike, I'm staying away from this game. I'm not really sure what to expect here, and so I'm not willing to really pay any money into it. What about you?
It looks like we are beating the same drum.
Yeah.
I kind of feel the same exact way. I'm not touching anybody on the Celtics. I think Tatum's a little bit overpriced for this matchup at 8,700. I honestly don't think there's that much value. Tatum's been fantastic all season. I'll never take anything away from that. A lot of that was without Kemba. He was getting a ton of usage. He'll still get a ton of usage. He'll still be the main guy for this team. He's going to be limited. But knowing that he's going to be going against a guy named Giannis Antetokounmpo, that kind of worries me with that price tag. So I won't be touching him. I won't be going to Jaylen Brown. I won't be going to Gordon Hayward. If any of those guys I were to play, it might be Hayward out of the bunch. But 6,800, there's not a lot of meat left on the bone for me right there. I'll probably I'll take a hard pass. And I kind of feel the same way about Milwaukee. Giannis is priced the same price as two superstars. I like a little bit more than him. Middleton, I can see being a solid play at 7,500, knowing that Bledsoe's out. He'll see an increase in usage. And then I guess I can co-sign a little bit of Dante DiVincenzo. He should have some decent ball handling opportunities if they do limit minutes. I still expect him to play a decent amount in this matchup, and he's a good point per minute kind of guy. So, that's it. And I don't even feel that confident in those plays either, though. They're just, if I had to pick people from this game, that's who it would be.
Yeah, I like the DiVincenzo call as well. May have overlooked him here. That's a pretty good call. I'm going to write that one down. George Hill, any thoughts there?
George Hill's pretty much stuck in that backup role. That's the thing. Whenever we've seen Bledsoe sit out, George Hill still plays 20 to 24 minutes. No matter what it is, he's going to play that limited role. They like him in that role. I don't think they want to just thrust him into like a starting lineup or anything. I think, DiVincenzo makes more sense to me just to kind of step up, and especially, Bucks can get this game out of hand. They can rest their starters. Like you said, they're not playing for anything. But Coach Bud will probably still play these young guys a decent amount of minutes. Keep in mind that Connaughton's out as well. I forgot to mention that one off the top. So there are a few other guys that are younger that would normally play some garbage time minutes that probably won't. So probably won't go to George Hill. And I just don't think there's that much. I'm a GPP guy more or less. I do my cash games, but I just don't see that much upside in George Hill, especially in this matchup.
Oh, you're right. There is an upside, but it's probably more of a cash play, but nah, I think you're right. I like that DiVincenzo call. I'm going to make a play there.
Ooh, all right. I wouldn't go overboard, but hey, if you're playing multiple lineups, he definitely makes sense in one of them for a pivot play because, we've already talked about Troy Brown and a few other guys around that $4,900, $4,800, $4,700 range, and DiVincenzo probably have a little bit less shine compared to them.
Yeah, I agree. Yep.
All right, man. Let's keep it moving. We only have 2 games left on the board. Sacramento Kings taking on the San Antonio Spurs, 219.5 over under, with Sacramento being favored by 3.5. Normally, it's not something that you'd hear, but it's obviously there's plenty of injuries that we have to talk about. So we'll start with Sacramento. Alex Len looks like he is going to be listed as out. He's just not fully back up to speed. He needs to take a few games to, maybe get his feet wet, a couple more practices. And then Marvin Bagley, as we know, he re-aggravated his foot again. I hope foot injuries don't plague this guy. Feels like the second or third foot injury in about 2 years. So, hopefully he can recover, get a speedy recovery, get him back next season. Look forward to it, but it doesn't look like he's going to be playing at all for the rest of this one. So that's going to open up some minutes that we're going to have to talk about. But on the San Antonio side, as far as injuries and people out, Bryn Forbes still dealing with, I believe it is a groin injury, quad. I'm sorry, hurt his right quad a few weeks back or a week back. Doesn't look like he's going to be here for at least 2 to 3 weeks. That's their season. So Bryn Forbes probably done. Trey Lyles, Aldridge, both announced that they were not going to be playing once the season kind of restarted as well. So 3 guys that are generally pretty big key cogs in their rotation are going to be sitting out. But let's start with Sacramento, man. Marvin Bagley out. Who are you looking to play, or if anybody, with him sitting out?
Yeah, so I'm looking straight to Rashawn Holmes here. The pricing on DraftKings that I'm looking at, as I mentioned, 5,100. That's only 25, DK fantasy points, and I reckon he just becomes lock and load areas here. He's firmly in play in both formats. He's got a over 1.0 point per minute rating, but he'll get plenty of minutes here. So we should see him crush that 25 DK, I would have thought. Especially here in these early seeding games where there's a chance the Kings push hard just to start the seeding games to see where they may be able to finish up. But I think if that changes, we probably see less of him again. For now, I'm firing him up. What do you think?
So I love Rashawn Holmes. I think everybody here over at Hoopball has been pounding the Rashawn Holmes drum for quite some time. The only thing I have worried about him is, the reports that he stayed in good shape when he had to quarantine. He was one of the guys that left the bubble right away, got food, had to self-isolate for 8 days. So with that being said, what's great shape? That's the only thing I worry about. How many minutes is he going to play? Because if he plays 23, 24 minutes, that's not enough for me. We're talking, high 20s, sign me up. I'm all for it. So I was actually gravitating a little bit more towards the Nemanja Bjelica. Just because I know that, they're going to need front court bodies no matter what. He should have plenty of ample opportunity to play that 4. Might even see some small ball 5 minutes, knowing that San Antonio doesn't have that many bigs themselves either. So I know that the San Antonio mentioned that they were going to try to get some spells with Rudy Gay at center. If that's the case, it just seems like matching Bjelica up on him would just make the most amount of sense in that kind of matchup. So I'm kind of gravitating a little bit towards him. I think 5,300 is a more than fair price tag. There's still a little juice on the bone, and it's a good matchup. So I think I'm probably going to go with Bjelica. And we already talked, again, center stacked up. So I can still play 2 other centers that I think are underpriced that I really like and play Bjelica at forward and get different exposure around my lineup, kind of mix and match that way. But I think they're both very, very much in play. Rashawn Holmes just feels maybe a little bit more like a GPP play, just because I don't know where I can peg his minutes right now. We might hear some coach speak or something before the game of whether he's going to be limited or not. But if he's not, all systems go, man. I'm with you. Let's lock him, load him.
Yeah, cool. I like that take. Nice one.
Anybody else? Because I'm looking at De'Aaron Fox. He was just sprained his ankle not too long ago. I wouldn't expect a whole ton of minutes from him. So I'm probably not going to be paying that $7,600 price tag. I don't play Harry Barnes. It just doesn't happen. I just don't do it. I don't like it. I won't do it.
Been burnt too many times before.
And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention my buddy Kent Bazemore for GPPs. I think I love playing Kent Bazemore in GPPs just because of why everybody else doesn't like to play him. He's just so volatile. But when you get him on those days where he gets those 3 or 4 steals and has a decent shot fall, and you're looking at sometimes low 30s to mid 30s, some fantasy points, and at 4,300, there's not a lot of guys that have that kind of upside. So don't trust him in cash, but he's always playable in GPPs if you're building multiple lineups.
Yeah, cool. Sprinkle some Baisley in.
Yeah, just a little base sprinkle.
A little base.
A I was gonna say basil, like an Austin Powers, basil. But any San Antonio, I guess we could slide right over there, man. All these injuries, especially in the front court. There's got to be somebody that you're looking at on this team.
Yeah, DeMar. He's going to be high owned, but that's okay for me. DeMar DeRozan here, the usage and the amount of time this guy has the ball in his hands is just going to be through the roof. LaMarcus out. Bryn Forbes is now listed out with a quad. This is going to be obscene for him. I think he'll be high owned, but with good reason. With these guys out, his usage goes from 26.6 all the way up to 32.2, and that's just too nice. Also, the points per minute, 1.13 point per minute player to 1.34. I'll take that every day of the week. He's going to burn through this salary for value really easily. Like I said, he's probably going to be high owned, but I don't think you can pass him up at that salary on too many of your lineups.
No, you do hit on it. The usage is massive. With no Aldridge, and I always touch on it. Shooting guards versus the Kings is a thing. Yes, he's going to play small forward, but he's a tweener. He's pretty much played shooting guard, small forward throughout his whole career. He should have no problem torching this Kings team. So I'm with you. I think he's a fantastic play. Another guy I kind of had my eye on, and I think a lot of people might have their eye on, is going to be Jakob Poeltl.
Oh, yeah.
With no Aldridge, no Trey Lyles, who's pretty much one of their backup go-to centers, it only really leaves a couple guys, Devin Eubanks, Tyler Zeller, sitting behind him. They're not going to play Lucas I can never say his name, and I'm not even going to try because then Santino's going to call me the name butcher. You know who I'm talking about. But he's not going to be playing. So I think he's definitely in play. I think he'll be chalky, but he can rack up rebounds and defensive stats pretty quickly. And this Sacramento team being a little thin up front, definitely a positive matchup. Only 4,700, so I see myself playing a couple 2-center lineups, and he's definitely going to be in a couple of them. But outside of those two guys, there's still some other options. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Lonnie Walker draw a start or play decent minutes at 3,200. So if you're absolutely dumpster diving and it's maybe the last guy in there in a GPP, I don't mind looking at a guy like Lonnie Walker. Very, very high risk, high reward type guy. But at 3,200, you're not really looking for much, and there should be a couple of minutes available for a guy like that.
Yeah, for sure. If he gets to start at 3,200, you fire him up all day long. Absolutely.
And that's probably it. I mean, I could see the DeJounte Murray, Derek Whitelove. It's a great matchup for both of these guys. But 61, 57, we've already touched on several other guards. I think I'd prefer Napier over both of them in that matchup. So they would probably be decent GPP pivots if you're looking to get off of a guy like Napier who you're expecting to be chalk, or if you're just trying to maybe go with Troy Brown and then play one of these guys. But otherwise, I think I'll be looking, like you said, it's going to be DeRozan and Poeltl as my 1A and 1B on the Spurs, and that's probably where I'll leave it.
Absolutely. Those two guards you just mentioned, there's another one I can't get right. I play one, the other one fires. I play him, and the other one fires. So just try to stay away from those guards, man.
It's tough, man, especially because you never know. It's really what Popovich wants to do. And you can't forget that Patty Mills is there. And Patty Mills always will have a warm place in Greg Popovich's heart, no matter what the situation is. So it's a roulette wheel. It's, Russian roulette, I guess, when you're playing with those guys. But we have one game left. It's the 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time game, the late game hammer, the last game of the night. The game with the highest total on the board at 229.5 over under. Dallas is being favored by 1 point coming into this game. I can't wait for this game. I'm going to be up late watching this, man. Really looking forward to it. We'll start with Houston as far as injuries. Eric Gordon recently just sprained his ankle. He's going to be out for at least the next 2 weeks. So no more Aaron Gordon. Thabo Sefolosha is still out. Luke Richard Mbalamute. He was revealed that he tested positive for COVID-19. So I do not expect him to be playing. He said he was sick and he was taken to the hospital. So I have to read a little bบmore into this, but I don't think there's much reason to anyway. He's not going to have that big of an impact on this rotation of minutes. He'd probably be sniffing maybe 5 minutes at most anyway. So, I don't know if you're looking at anybody over here on the Houston team, but, as far as injuries are concerned, for Dallas, Brunson's still out. Gilchrist will not be playing. Dwight Powell, he was out for the year, still out. Courtney Lee is going to be unavailable. He went under calf surgery late in June, so he is out. And then Dorian Finney-Smith coming with a questionable tag next to him. I'd expect him to play, though. But so no real injuries to be, I guess, overly concerned about for Dallas. And Willie Cauley-Stein opted out a few weeks back or months back. So I'll let you lead off, man. Houston Rockets. I guess I could probably just ask the elephant in the room. James Harden or Russell Westbrook?
That's the top of the page here for me is Harden versus Westbrook. Harden's got this amazing upside. He's just a fantasy beast. I'm actually taking Russ here. I reckon at 9,400, he probably represents much better value for a guy that still has a really high ceiling. I can see Russ coming into this game fired up in beast mode, his minutes came up in the second scrimmage. Played 26 minutes in that game. Shooting was way off. Hey, here's another point. His shooting was way off in that scrimmage. So anyone with a bad taste in their mouth watching that game, he may be lower owned than we expect. It's Russ over Harden all the way here for me. What about you?
See, I like them both. I think, obviously if you're a person building multiple lineups, you can easily just hedge your bet and get both in there, play one in one lineup, mix and match and use the $1,600 and upgrade somewhere else, play Westbrook. I generally prefer Harden. There's been little rumblings that he's going to play off ball more, which I think would hurt his value. Obviously, we're looking at a couple less assists, maybe a little bit more scoring opportunity for that being said. But Harden's still going to play Harden's game regardless. He's going to do what he has to do. He'll probably play ISO and dribble the clock out a lot. But I think I still prefer Harden. When in doubt, he didn't come down with COVID. Westbrook did. If they're going to limit anybody's minutes or take it easy on anybody, it would probably be Westbrook coming back, especially maybe after that rough shooting performance. Just let him ease into the role, let Harden take over the first few games that don't really mean as much, and then once playoffs really come, he'll be good to go and turn it on. So I'm probably still leaning Harden, but we're going to get to the other guy on the other side of the ball who I'd play over both of them in a minute. Is there any other peripheral pieces that you're looking for on Houston, or are you kind of just leaving it to the studs and that's it, drawing the line there?
Yeah, no, that's it for me. It's the top two guys and everyone else falls away.
Yeah, I don't really play PJ Tucker. Hey, if you like getting 18-point nights, play PJ Tucker. You can lock that in. Covington, decent price tag, 6,100. I think there's better guys that we have available on the slate for cheaper price tags that we can look at, and I'm not messing around with the whole Daniel House, Ben McLemore, Austin Rivers, whoever's going to fill in for a couple of Eric Gordon's minutes. I'm good with that. I'll leave that for somebody else to mess around with. That's like trying to choose between the Laker guards. I'm all set with that one. I don't want to deal with another Danny Green, KCP kind of situation.
Totally agree, and you nailed it. Absolutely.
All right, man. Last team on the board is these Dallas Mavericks. I've already alluded to it. Luka Doncic, one of my favorite plays of the night. I'll probably be smashing him in my lineups as hard as I possibly could. I think he's underpriced at 10-5. Fantastic matchup, up pace. Played this team once earlier in the season. Had an okay game, I guess. If 41 points, 10 assists, and 6 rebounds is okay. Chipped in a block and 2 steals. Had 71 DK points in that game. 10-5 is just too cheap for Luka Doncic. The situation surrounding the Mavericks right now, knowing that they do not want to have the 7 seed in the West, they want to work their way up to at least the 6. Nobody wants to play the Clippers or the Lakers. It's just the bottom line. The Mavericks I'm kind of treating them with the same glass as almost like the Grizzlies. These are super important games for them. Expect anybody that could play a boatload of minutes to play a boatload of minutes. So, and Luka is their guy. I don't know. Did I mention I like Luka Doncic?
You did. You did. I might just switch my mic off and you can finish up here.
Yeah, man. So I'm all over him. I think I'll play him over Harden. I'll play him over Westbrook. Maybe I'll stars and scrub one and try to get them both in there. It'll be tough, but I'm probably going to be. He's going to be my favorite play on the slate. Just it's hard to ignore that price tag in this matchup with all the other information we know surrounding the Mavericks seeding right now.
Yeah, totally agree. Luka's a smash here. I'll be trying to find that extra salary to get him into lineups wherever I can. Like you said, I totally agree. They've got everything to play for here, unlike some of the other teams we've touched on. They're going to come out going hard at this, and Luka's the man.
Oh, he's the man. He's a manly man. Yeah, I can't say it on podcasts and on radio, but you've heard every other every other NBA player saying about him, and he's just a BMF. He's just he's just a bad dude, man. He's a young kid, and he's just my favorite part about him. And I love all athletes that you kind of get this vibe from. And you see it a lot with these younger guys, but that just presents immense talent where they're just schooling 30-year-old grown men who've been doing this their entire lives, and these guys are kids. Is that they're having fun. And Luka just looks like
with a smile on his face. Absolutely.
Dude, laughing, making the kids laugh. And he's respected all in the same vein. I couldn't think of a better person to kind of get that torch passed by Dirk Nowitzki. I'm a Mavs fan, so I guess it's easy for me to gloat and be all excited about this kid's future. But I think everybody can agree he's going to be a star for probably the next 15 to 20 years.
No doubt.
Kristaps, 8,600. Any interest?
Not really, man. Not in this small ball lineup against the Rockets. I'll let Luka do his thing. He's also got to probably play a lot of minutes against Rocco, and I'm not really looking at Kristaps here.
I don't like the price tag. I don't mind the matchup. He creamed them. He's averaging over 50 DK points in 2 games against him this season. So, for every opportunity that they can take running against him, he's going to be able to just pound PJ Tucker down low with about 8 inches of height on him. So I don't like the price tag. But if you have the leftover cash and you just don't know where to spend it, he's a great option for that reason. So I'm not going to completely fade him, but I don't see myself probably getting too much of him. And then I guess, only other guy I'm really looking at on the Mavs personally would be a guy like Seth Curry. We just seen him get hot, 5K though. Not really in love with that price tag. One of these wings between him and Hardaway are going to have to be a good shooter in this game. There's going to be plenty of opportunity for both teams to jack up 3-pointers. And the Rockets do not play defense on the perimeter. It's just the bottom line. Shooting guards absolutely just cook them. So it's probably a lot of it has to do with Harden. If James Harden's on one of these guys, they should be able to just kind of shoot all day long. So, pick your poison. Neither one of them are fantastic price tags, but I could see one of them hitting value.
Yeah, I've got Curry written down here. As you said, Rocket support, defending, the wings and the shooting guards in general. Seth can get overlooked on slates as well. Other names in the shooting guard spots tend to maybe overshadow him. And I think I mentioned when we broke down the Mavs in our previous pod, I'm all for Seth Curry and GPPs. Yep, he'll kill some of your lineups, but when he's on, and he has a chance to be on here against this Rockets team.
Absolutely. Makes it for a great pivot, I guess, for those GPPs where you don't want to get a high-owned Troy Brown Jr.
Good call.
Maybe you get the Napier, and then you get your shooting guard spot with Seth Curry. Who knows? We have to wait and see. There's a little bit of news to come out, but there's going to be so many ways we can mix and match these lineups, and I think that's the biggest point of emphasis to make on this night is that we have a lot of options, a lot of value, and I think there's going to be a lot of fish swimming in the waters that we can take advantage of.
Yeah, for sure. Did we even touch on Maxi Kleber then? We've probably, running short on time, but
we can. If you got something to say about Maxi, man, I'm never gonna take any airtime away from Maxi Kleber.
Says the Mavs fan. Yeah, look, it's more of a bit of a dart throw, I guess, with Maxi, but the minutes are going to be there for him, I think, and potentially against the Rockets small ball lineup. I'm just looking at this price and thinking he's a good cash play. Probably not a GPP guy ever, but 4,700, he's got something to offer.
Yeah, and, we've seen him just kind of step up in any time that he needs to play center. That's the only worry I have with him is if they go small ball and they keep one big on the floor and it's between him and Porzingis, who's winning that battle. Probably the 7'3" superstar that can drain 3-pointers from 45 feet away. So that's my only worry with him is minutes in this matchup. And we're basically banking on consistent minutes for him to hit value. Fair enough price tag where I don't mind taking a shot on him, but probably won't end up with too much of him myself when it's all said and done.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right, brother. I think we just wrapped up 6 games real fast, but before we just say goodbye and leave everybody to go win a bunch of money, why don't you let them know where they can follow you on Twitter?
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter at Terrain72. That's TERRAIN 72.
Absolutely. And go give Brenton a big old follow. He's been doing some pretty cool things over here at Hoop Ball, and we're ecstatic to have him a part of this team, man. He's been absolutely crushing it. Bringing a lot of good takes to this podcast, man. I'm with you. I think, a lot of our listeners are going to be playing some Troy Brown tonight, and that is a great call. I know I'm going to be all over him as well now. I had him in mind, and now you just juiced me all up and got me all fired up about him, and now I'm like, I got to get a ton of Troy Brown. So I'm with you. Cool. And if you guys want to give me a follow, it's at Mike Apotria, MikeApotria. And we'd appreciate it if you guys want to just hop on iTunes, whether it's Stitcher, Spotify, Podbean, iHeartRadio. We're available all over the place. Give us a real nice rate and review, 5 stars, thumbs up. Let us know if you like what we're doing. If we're doing anything different that you'd like to hear, you can throw it in there, or you can just hit us up on Twitter. We take all of the constructive criticism to heart, and we're just trying to get better for you guys each and every day. But anything you want to take us out of here on, Bren?
No, man. I think we wrapped it up nicely. Hoop ball.
That's it, brother. That's it. And we'll be back tomorrow again, 7 days a week, with another pod breaking down the Saturday day card. So that's all we have for you guys over here at Hoop Ball. So we appreciate it. Thank you for listening to NBA DFS today. We'll catch you guys later. Let's go win some money.
This has been a Hoop Ball presentation.